Wow. Welcome to Thunder Nerds. I'm Brian Hinton.
And Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip von Weiss. And thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
that love what they do.
And do tech
good. We're doing tech good at VueConf US 2019.
Are you sure it's 19?
12. Brian, where are we at?
We're in Tampa, Florida at the
Straz Performing Arts Center.
Yeah, and we're going to be here all day and all day tomorrow. We're going to be interviewing all these speakers and having a good old grand time.
A good old and grand time.
Good old and grand time, all those things together.
Grand old good time.
Yeah, you heard it here. Exclusive.
We're
hey,
fancy.
We're speaking with a very special guest. We have Adam Jahr on the show.
Welcome, Adam.
Hello.
Adam, welcome.
Yay!
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us. Adam, for our audience, could you provide a little bit of context about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so full-time I teach Vue development on VueMastery.com. So
Sounds so familiar.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, basically I spend my time learning new concepts, figuring out how to teach them in the hopefully most understandable way, and then have fun kind of animating it, making it concrete and visual. And then we release a new video lesson every week, so our subscribers get kind of really up-to-date content about their technology.
Wow, so that must be demanding, like every week?
Yeah, it is. But you get into a flow of it and kind of have kind of almost like a template in your head of how a lesson should go. It's just a matter of how do I translate this specific topic into that way of teaching.
I always talk about, like, with publishing, you want to make sure that it's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep up with a schedule like that of publishing.
Yes, especially week to week. You'd get burnt out if you didn't love doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do it in a very visual way, which is nice. I've checked out some of your videos in the past, and you also you're a part of some like little show too, some podcast of some sort of thing.
Heard about that.
Yes. So
I don't know what it is.
right. So Greg Pollock, who is my co-founder at VueMastery, you might know him from codeschool.com. So he and I do the Vue News. So it's basically the official Vue News podcast where we sum up kind of all the stories you would care to know about that are maybe trending on Medium or have things that we feel are great takeaways. So we kind of summarize it up, do the reading for you, tell you what is out there to consume so that maybe you're commuting to work and you can say, okay, so that article I'm going to read when I get to the office, something like that.
You subscribe, Jessica?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have an audience member. And what I like about too, which is a silly thing maybe, is I love the little jingle between each news story.
Can you sing it for us?
I don't know what.
How does it go?
It's just a noise.
You can't even do
Noise.
a little.
You can't do the noise. Onomatopoeia.
You got it. We believe
It's
in
more
you.
like a ding or
It's like a bell thing. Yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
okay. I like it.
That's it.
It's weird. It's weirdly like it's satisfying and enjoyable. It's like, oh, there's another thing coming up. Just a
Right.
second.
maybe like trigger
It's like,
something in
yeah,
your
it's
brain.
like what's that one?
Pavlovian.
Yeah.
Pavlovian, yeah. Oh, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more Vue news.
How do you introduce people into Vue? Like you talk about like your workshop, for example, like it's an introduction into Vue. What are some of the easier things to get people into Vue? Like what is, like for sushi is the California roll is the introduction into sushi. Like what is the California roll of Vue?
Interesting way of putting it.
I have a lot of interesting ways of putting things, just FYI. It's going to get weirder.
Okay, perfect. I like it weird. So I would say, I mean, the sushi roll, the California roll specifically, is going to be yes, it's going to be, I'd say, the Vue docs. Just start like reading there. They're super
cucumber.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, like the cucumber. And yeah, they're super well written with beginners in mind. They don't make too many assumptions about like what you already know or should know. They do a really good job of guiding you. As you're reading the Vue docs, you'll see links to VueMastery lessons. So like as you feel inclined, watch the video versions of those explanations. We have a full free intro course where we guide you from really the heart of a Vue application all the way to creating like forms. So you build a pretty cohesive small app. And while doing so, learn all the essential syntax. So I'm biased, but I would say start at the docs and head over to VueMastery for our free course.
Nice. Oh, what's the web address for that?
For viewmastery.com.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Well, obviously, we'll put a link in the show notes, like for our audio listeners.
Yes,
Yeah.
viewmastery.com.
Oh, that was very succinct and beautiful. Yeah, I love it. So you get to go to all of these really cool places and talk about Vue and all the really cool nuances about Vue and everything like that. How do you manage to do a video a week and also do talks? That's crazy.
So
be the clone.
Oh,
right. Yeah. There's two of me. Well, part of it is because my business partner, Greg, he and I switch off. So because we're kind of co-creating our own courses, we're able to say you release 2 lessons, I'll release 2 lessons, and over time we can kind of schedule in some breaks where it allows us for some travel, allows us to kind of focus on different matters within the business. So having 2 people producing content at the same time, organizing that release schedule allows us to kind of sync things up like that.
Heard. That must be
Also,
still.
Yeah. Also, I'll say a lot of what we are presenting is taking the video content and kind of translating that into a live context. So a lot of the content we already have produced the slides for and thought a lot about and kind of had the script in our heads. So we're kind of creating our presentations as we're creating our online content as well.
Heard that. And then for this conference, you're speaking about Vuex.
Yes. So so I did basically a visual explanation, which is an introduction to Vuex and all the pieces of it, and tried to put it all in motion so people could see how they're all fit together.
That's really cool because you all have I think between you and Greg and the Vue Mastery team as a whole, you have this very noticeable animation style, if that makes sense. It's this exact timing and it's a very beautifully branded animation. How did you all come up with that?
So I think it's a blend of kind of the history of code school, which Greg started, and taking that idea and moving it forward into just teaching one specific technology and going really deep with it. So he's kind of refined a process, and I kind of just took that and ran with it. And hey, Jacob. So sorry, what was the original question?
No, you're totally fine. The animation style.
Right.
So how do you come up with it?
Right. So I think at the heart of it, we love teaching. And what we love about teaching is inducing those revelatory states of aha, I get it, having those click moments happen.
Yeah.
So because we love doing that, we really invest a lot of ourselves, a lot of our passion. We get inspired to really take the time to animate things. So I think what you're really seeing is our inspiration to do well and do a good job translates into those animations. And then we're also, artistic in ways and designery in ways, so that comes out in the animations as well.
That's really cool. We have a very tiny screen up here where we can see some of these talks. You can't hear them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, so I was able to watch your entire talk during a podcast. So
dang.
I know,
Nice.
Y'all. I know, it's great.
So you're lip reading.
Yes, I am. So I'm what you say?
In case anyone missed it too, he did a talk and a workshop.
Yep.
And Janelle mentioned how are you able to do that? I want to know a little bit more. You say you translate a lot of your talk based on your lessons.
Yeah.
What I like to see the behind the scenes and kind of get what effort did that take? Were you what was that like to produce that? And did you present it to friends and family beforehand? Over pizza and beer? I mean, what
Right. Yeah. So in a nutshell, basically, for every 10-minute lesson on Vue Mastery, at least 40 hours of production effort went into that.
Oh, wow.
So
pay them money.
Donate.
Right. So then we're able to basically produce it in a way, because we're basically using Keynote slides. So all of our content is in slides. So when we like record it on screen, we're kind of like tabbing through our slides just as we would live. So then we can take that and present it in a live context. The only difference is when we create the videos, we then send it off to a video editor, and they bring us on screen and do some extra stuff so that we can like also have our face there and not just so you're not just staring at slides. So you can kind of like, so we can do a side and say, all right, so maybe that was confusing. Let's clarify it. Let's like go deeper. When I was, you know, so it allows us to kind of do tangents and get on screen. So
yeah, that's a lot of work. Are you excited? I don't know if you have an iPad. Are you excited about the new Keynote where you can actually draw the animation path?
That is brand new news to me, right?
Yeah.
I might have to
you might have to, because you're going to be able to draw the path that shapes are animated on.
Interesting.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Try that out.
Like, ooh, fancy.
Yeah.
Good job, Apple.
They do some stuff.
Interest.
So who's your talk for? Like which level? It's obviously not for beginners, right?
It's for, I would say it's for a range of people. It's not for super newbies to Vue, because you gotta have to understand the Vue syntax and why you would actually want to use Vuex. I do a good job, I think, of contextualizing its value. But it's more so people who are new to Vuex and new to state management, and helping kind of like onboard you to that paradigm of thinking. But also, I think because of the way that it's super visual, it probably allows people who are already using it to kind of have a firmer grasp in their head of like, okay, so this is like almost like creating a guide for them to like have in their head as they're using it.
How would you explain Vuex just for two of the beginners, like
To a kindergarten.
to a beginner that has like a little bit of context of like, hey, you know, this is what you're going to think of in the future.
Yeah, so basically Vuex comes into play when your app grows to the point where just like communicating data and state between components becomes a bit messy. Like sending it up and down and over and around will quickly get messy. So the solution for that is to consolidate that all into one place where you're storing your state that your components can basically push and pull from. So it allows for simplicity and ease by adding that layer. It is a layer of complexity that you have to learn to use, but once you get a hang of it, it's just such a super useful tool.
Yeah, it's one of those things that become invaluable too.
Yeah, for sure.
How would you describe the differences, I guess, between or kind of entice someone to use Vuex that's been using maybe Flux or MobX before?
Yeah, so right, so if you're coming from using like MobX or Redux or something, those are all based on the Flux-based paradigm. So you're kind of already using that way of thinking and working with state management. So it becomes a lot easier to transition into Vuex because you have that foundation already laid out for you. If you haven't yet used it, know that this is like a kind of like a tried and tested way of working with state that different frameworks are using. So it's got that kind of like there's experience and knowledge being poured into these kinds of systems because it's the whole paradigm. It's not just like, oh, here's Vuex, but it's like part of a greater way of thinking.
That makes sense.
Heard that. Well, what more can you tell us, I guess, about what your role is and what you do at Vue Mastery, like kind of like in a you're almost like a developer advocate, but also like, a teacher as well. So
Professor.
Ooh, fancy.
Right. I would say, I wear a few hats because we are quite a small team. Primarily, I consider myself an educator. I am also focused on thinking about, how are we basically communicating to potential subscribers, so like thinking through like who's our potential audience, how can we draw them into the technology and make it easier, how can we kind of expand our reach in our different channels like YouTube, Twitter, whatnot. So part of me thinks through like social media, so kind of like I'm like part product manager, part educator, part evangelist-ish, in that like I'll go to different conferences and whatnot. So I wear a bunch of different hats, but at the core, I am an educator, and that's really where a lot of my time and effort is poured into.
Have you always had that passion to be an educator?
I would say like I've always been an explainer, like, and it's always come naturally to me to explain things, and to kind of like lead and guide. And I have been doing that in different ways throughout my career, with like some career coaching, with leading groups and like nonprofits that I worked at. So it kind of like education and guidance in terms of understanding and kind of playing around with new ideas has been a part of my career as it's kind of woven around and landed into teaching development.
Yeah, that's awesome. Must be so rewarding to do that, to have people come up to you and be like, hey, I learned this and that from watching these videos. And your help. What
I love about these conferences is we spend all this time at, basically Greg's place producing the content and pouring so many hours into it. And we know that we have subscribers, but it's rare that we have the opportunity to actually get to meet them.
Engage.
But yeah. So it's like if you're teaching at a brick and mortar school, you have your students in front of you. If you're teaching online, you don't really always have the opportunity to meet them unless you go to conferences and they approach you. And so it's always a validating and gratifying experience when I get to meet them and hear that the work that we're producing is helping them through their professional journeys.
What's the worst thing that you've happened as you're developing something that have you ever had something that you like maybe you're making the video and it completely lost the entire video? What's the something that's happened?
The worst thing I would say is I was switching computers.
I can already tell this bad.
And basically, I lost like probably a dozen keynote presentations.
Oh God!
So I had to like go and because then I had to present it live. So I had to like go and see like how can I edit and clip these videos together that I fortunately already had, and so the keynotes were gone, but the videos were gone, so that I then put into Keynote. So it worked out fine, but would have been nice to have the raw Keynote file.
Yeah, that saved you a lot of work too.
Yeah,
that's nice. That's a scary scenario.
Yeah.
Everything's gone.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Does our audience have any questions?
Audience members? Jessica?
I just want to, I want to say that the reason that Vue Mastery you mentioned that you like to connect with your students, and the big selling point for me for Vue Mastery was when I kind of grasped the basics, and I was like, and I know what slots are, right? So slots are like what you put inside of a div or text or something like a button. And I know what they are, but how do I use them? And the advanced components course that you guys put together really made everything click. That's why I'm such a fan of it.
Great. Nice. Now he's not going to be able to get out the door. His head seems so big.
I was going to wear all those hats.
Yeah. I have to wear every hat.
That must be.
That's what ears are for.
That must be great to hear, to have someone tell you that. I mean,
yeah,
probably.
Yeah, sure. It's validating to know that our content is helping people move forward.
Yeah. You're doing it because of the passion of, you want to do this, but, you're also helping out so many people.
Yeah, it's almost like creating this ripple effect. You put so much energy into something. It's nice to see that it's like that you're actually causing an effect with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're just about out of time. Few last questions. How could people get a hold of you and like your website, Twitter handle, all that? Obviously, we'll put it in the show notes, but just for our audio listeners.
For sure. So yeah, again, our learning platform is vuemastery.com. I'm on Twitter at Adam Jahr. That's Adam Jahr. So yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. And hopefully, if you are interested in exploring Vue or deepening your knowledge and understanding of it, check us out. We have free content that is readily available for you to consume, so you don't have to immediately pay to start learning with us.
Just pay them.
That's
Subscribe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do it.
Pay them.
It's literally worth it.
Yeah, support the community.
Yes.
One more thing I would say in terms of supporting the community is important to us to give back to the technology we're teaching. So 25% of everything we make in terms of revenue goes directly to Vue.js to support the project.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so over the past year, we've actually been able to become the biggest financial backer of Vue at this point.
Wow, really?
Wow.
So that was we're very happy to see that happen, and it's not just us, but it's obviously the subscribers have made that happen. So
wow,
that's really cool.
That's amazing that they can help out via
yeah.
yeah.
Is if you're learning your technology and helping that technology by giving to that technology.
So you subscribe.
Do
Just
it.
give them money.
Yeah.
Take.
Great. You guys got anything else?
No.
Yeah.
It's great talking with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. We got a lot more coming up. Stay tuned.